This is the Resolute Podcast, where we make men better. I am Vince Miller, your host, and today we're in a series entitled Do the Next Right Thing. And today we are discussing the topic of perseverance. Men, welcome back to the program. If this is your first time tuning in, well, thank you for joining us. Resolute exists to make men better because we know men today face unique challenges on the quest for godly manhood. Therefore, we desire to help men grow by providing them with a spiritual game plan that will launch them toward being better men, father, husbands, and leaders. Because we believe when you make one man better, everybody gets better. For more information on our program for individuals and groups, go to beresolute.org, where we have numerous great tools for men on our website. One being our free Men's Daily Devo. It's short and sweet to get in your inbox, so please check it out along with all of our other resources. And now, guys, let's dive in. So, guys, today I'm sitting with pastor, author Roger Thompson. Roger has been a pastor and author for many years, loves God's church, has always had a missional focus on men, but recently authored the book, Do the Next Right Thing. Roger, great to have you on the show today.
Great to be here, Vince.
So, Roger, let's back up a little bit. We've been through a few lessons with you so far on some great topics. We're discussing Peter and his life and his calling and some things that he's given to us in the text that he wrote. And you're using the analogy, or rather the metaphor maybe, of climbing, right? Mm-hmm. We're scaling the side of a mountain and we're climbing, we're using some handholds. Give us kind of the overview of the book one more time.
Well, I'm talking, Vince, about making necessary decisions, not decisions of opportunity, which involve margin and boundaries and time and all that. Those are necessary. But I'm talking about the decisions where you have to make a decision, but the decision is not going to straighten out everything. So you still need to make it. So a mistake would be that this book is some kind of a treatise that you could open it up and look up your particular problem and find the answer. But in fact, it's almost the opposite of that. This is a book about when you don't have the answers, what is your attitude going to be? And there's always a next right attitude to choose.
That's good.
So that's mainly what the book is about. And these handholds are really about our spiritual demeanor. They're about our spiritual maturity and our attitude as we face sometimes seemingly unsolvable problems, and we need to do the next right thing. And many times that's choosing one of these handholds to cling to while we wait.
So as I look back now and I think about some of the lessons that we've already been through, for example, knowledge or self-control, each one of these are a handhold in a process of discovering answers. They're not just like one answer for all things in life. It's a process of answers, and it's about attitude as we approach the challenge of climbing the face of the wall, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for example, I have a granddaughter who's faced a lot of physical challenges, and she's had 20 hospitalizations in her 7 young years.
Wow.
And God has been faithful in that, but we have not known what to do. But the knowledge we have is that God knows. God has her firmly in his grip. God knows the future. And I mean, this is just one example. We cling to our knowledge base in the scripture for our granddaughter. And though that doesn't answer all of our questions, it gives us an anchor. So that would be an example. When we are weeping in prayer over her, we still are clinging to this handhold. God knows and God cares because we know that about him. And we have hope.
What's your granddaughter's name?
Kenley.
Kenley. So we'll be praying for Kenley.
Thank you.
Everybody should pray for her today as you are listening. But today we're in the handhold of perseverance. Okay, so I'm a perseverance guy. I've come through a lot of hard things in life. And I love this word. Now, not everybody loves this word. So you seem to have a unique definition of perseverance. Can you walk us through it?
Yes, I'll give you the short answer, then I'll tell you a little story about how I learned or how I've defined it this way. I believe there's a difference between endurance and perseverance. In other words, I'm defining this that endurance is doing the hard thing when you know that there's an end in sight, but you have to persevere. For example, you're running the mile, which I used to run. And the third lap is just sheer endurance. Your adrenaline is gone. You're not ready for your kick. You just have to keep going. But you know, after 4 laps, it's going to be over. Well, that's endurance, and we don't like that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But perseverance, we're going to split a semantic hair here. Perseverance takes the same amount of effort, but you don't know where the finish line is. Or you know where it is and you don't want it to be there. Now, I learned this on a bike trip. I've taken probably 40 bike trips in my life, and the early ones in Colorado were really blood and guts affairs. I mean, they were medieval biking with teenagers over many passes, and what I learned on those trips was that these young people could do almost anything. They could climb an 11,000-foot pass on a cranky old Schwinn varsity bicycle in their cutoffs and keds because they saw the end. They saw the goal. They saw how far they needed to go, and they could make it to the top of the pass. But there's several occasions that occurred where we were told that the next town or the next goal was really easy to reach. And so we set off, and then we'd hit a big hill in the middle or something. And these students would kind of devolve into this mutinous gaggle of homicidal warriors. And they would come against us as leaders because they all of a sudden they were so angry and they wanted to quit. And the reason was they couldn't see the end. They thought, we're now stuck in this, it's useless, and we have to keep putting in this energy, and they couldn't see the goal in mind. And that's what perseverance feels like. Not the attitude. I'm not looking for that attitude. Right. But when we can't see the end, we want to quit. We want to think somebody else should step in here. Somebody else should give me a free ride. But Peter says perseverance, this kind of perseverance is what we need. And it's the next right thing for so many people that I talk to with endless and accumulating health issues, special needs children, a marriage that is going downhill, a business that is on life support, and they need to persevere. Every day they need to get up and go to physical therapy and persevere. They need to walk into their wife's disability and feed her and care for her and bathe her every single day. And the end that they see coming is not a pretty one. And Peter himself says, this is perseverance. Now, I can't prove this linguistically.
Yeah. I like it, though.
I'm getting my definition out of observation and experience, not out of the linguistics of it. But you will note that the very first thing in Hebrews chapter 12, after the great chapter on all the heroes, it says that we are to run a race with perseverance.
Yeah, Hebrews 12 really hits a guy, doesn't it? Because it's like, okay, you're a hero of the faith, but if you want to live like they do, then you're going to have to subject yourselves to being a son and being disciplined and enduring and living with some perseverance. So you say in your book that perseverance is the least of all the virtues. What do you mean by that?
Well, let me give you some examples of why it's the least. These are some contrasts. Endurance is running the mile. Perseverance is running a household. Endurance is learning algebra. Perseverance is learning to live with diabetes. Endurance is rehabbing after knee surgery. Perseverance is starting life over again after divorce. Endurance is winning 8 Olympic gold medals. Perseverance is living with 2 preschoolers in the home. I mean, you get the difference. One is sort of endless, and we don't know where it's going. So I think it's that way because we tend to think that if we were really spiritual, we would find an answer. If I wasn't so thick or dull or sinful, or if there weren't something fundamentally wrong with me spiritually, God would be showing me the victory. And of course, we have all kinds of Christian media around us. We have a lot of friends. We have a lot of Job's counselors who come around and say, hey, Vince, I see you slogging on, in this dead-end job and nothing. There's been no answer to it. There must be something. The hint is there's something wrong with your spiritual life if you haven't burst through the bubble and come out into spiritual victory. We just don't want to be that guy that's just the perseverer. Because for some reason we feel that I must be failing, I must be defective if I haven't found my answer yet. And I think that is true for so many people. We say as we leave the hospital room, hang in there, because that's sort of the way to say I don't really want to enter into the agony of this ongoing condition with you.
Okay, so would you suggest then that maybe sometimes what we need to do is persevere while others kind of dismiss the attitude of perseverance? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we need to elevate it. It is a spiritual virtue.
Yeah.
And we will all need it at some point in our life, or many different points in our life.
Yeah.
And here's the key, Vince. I define this way partly because of the life of Peter himself.
Okay, say more.
Listen to what Jesus said to Peter in John 21. He said, to muscular, instantaneously active, proactive Peter, he said to Peter, when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Follow me.
Huh.
Now remember, Peter's writing 2 Peter 30 years later.
Right.
And he knows that he is not going to go out in a blaze of glory. The soundtrack isn't going to be playing. He's not going to be given a hero's welcome. Jesus isn't going to come back. The Romans aren't going to be cast out. And Peter, in some ways, either going to be so sick or so manacled that he will not have control over his own body. He won't even be able to dress himself. So he knows that his whole physical life is one of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to know that, would you? That's why I don't want to have my DNA tested.
Yeah. Right.
But Jesus said, here is the path for you, Peter. And here's Peter giving this advice not only about self-control and faith and godliness, but saying you need to persevere. And he's living this. He knows what's coming for him. And even so, he says, I'm going to persevere and be faithful.
Yeah, that's what a great reminder. I think too, like as you were sitting here, I was thinking also not just about Peter, I was thinking about Paul. Yeah. I mean, when Paul was called on the Damascus Road, he was promised to be given a life of suffering. At least that's what he promised Ananias when he said to go do this.
That's right.
Which I just think sometimes we want the Christian life to be just a cakewalk. And we probably leave out this very important word, an attitude, perseverance. So, guys, let me just ask you, Roger, jumping to the end, like what would be a great call to action for guys hearing a message like this today? Because I would assume that there are some men that are going to be on the rosy side of the street, and some men that are living in the challenge right now. And so what would you say would be a great call to action for guys hearing a message like this?
Well, maybe it's not so much a call of action. Maybe it's a vision and an inspiration. I would say look through your life, identify a person who has lived a testimony of perseverance. And I just buried a friend like this past week. And determine to live like that person because other people are watching you just like I watched him. And I saw him live his life with perseverance, and it gave me great courage to live my life that way.
That's a great call to action, of course. Who is a better person to aim your life at other than Jesus Christ, who at the very final breath of his life was faithful to his call and his mission and lived it and endured the journey to the cross. Right?
And here's what you'll learn from every perseverer. They will all say, I wouldn't want this journey to be wished upon anybody, and I'm not sure I would want to repeat it, but my fellowship with Jesus has never been dearer to me, never closer, never more intimate, because he is all I have. He's the one who understands.
There's the motivation right there, right? Isn't that the motivation? Well, guys, that's the show. Thanks for listening. As we close, I want to remind you that none of this would be possible without you. Your prayers, your financial support, and your encouragement keep us going. Therefore, we would be honored to have you consider a monthly donation to Resolute. Even a small gift makes a huge difference for men around the country. And through the end of this month, with a gift of $10 a month or more, we will give you full access to our one-year game plan for men. This will give you access to our web portal and app, which includes lesson videos, podcasts, daily devos, transcripts, and other material to help you grow in your faith as a man of God. This is a full-scale game plan that will guide you through a 1-year process that will pay out dividends in your faith. Just head to the website. That again is beresolute.org. Click the word store on the menu bar and then select donation. All gifts are tax deductible. And while you're there, pick up a copy of Roger Thompson's new book, Do the Next Right Thing. It is worth the read. And guys, remember, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, but please know that the time we spent together is worthless unless you act on it. So do something today, like persevere. A little harder, not endure, persevere. By getting off the bench and into the game. And I will see you right back here next time on another edition of the Resolute Podcast.